The 14th year of Chenghua. Chapter 129. Master Tang's bedmaid. Shi Ming's group speedily found the spot Lin Zhen was buried. His body had been interred in the Lin family's ancestral tombs in their Luling County suburbs. That area wasn't far from the county, but since what they were about to do was not supposed to be seen, they obviously couldn't go plainly dig up the grave during the light of day. It needed to be done in secret. Therefore, after Shi Ming had come back with the report, Tang Fan decided to head over the next night, because the day after tomorrow was double seventh. Jian nighttime by then would be having a lively lantern festival, and everyone of every age in the city would be coming out to see and release lanterns. On that night only, all the city's gates would not be closed for curfew, and their group coming and going would not attract anyone's notice. After getting back from the Lin residence, Tang Fan made no other movements for 2 days straight, instead bringing Lu Lingzi and the other with him every day to stroll around Jian's various streets, coming and goings from restaurants of all sizes and sampling the local foods, which was all inscrutable to onlookers. Unavoidably, some believed that he had made no progress on the case, and since it was heard that the court was on the verge of appointing a second Imperial ambassador, he must be feeling moody and stopped bothering. Regardless of what anyone else thought, Tang Fan continued to do his own thing. He didn't even go into the prefectural bureau, let alone say he was going to go look for Shen Kengxiu. For these 2 days, Jian was vast, and he was going to tour the whole thing. Tang Fan did not seek out Shen Kengxiu, but the latter was not even a little bit happy about that. The most dramatic thing that happened in Jian these 2 days was not Tang Fan investigating the case, but Consul Shen beating his son half to death, until he supposedly wasn't about to get up for half a month. Young Master Shen was quite the troublemaker. If he had only done some minor stupid things, that would have been fine, but he had run off to a brothel, and because he had fallen downwind in the fight for a girl's affections with another dandy, he had brought out his father's name, completely destroying said father's reputation. As was known, Shen Kengxiu was still bearing this case. Every day it went unsettled was another day he carried the suspicion of harshly judging a case and forcing a scholar unto his death. And yet, his son was the opposite of good, not only not sympathizing with him but making a mess all over the place. Who knew what Shen Kengxiu felt, having sired a son like this? Still, young Master Shen was his only son. As could be imagined, Shen Si having become what he was today was likely Shen Kengxiu's blame to bear. Whatever Shen Kengxiu was feeling, Lu Lingzi had no idea of it at this moment, though his current emotions might not be much different than his. That was because Tang Fan was going to pick up his distantly related cousin. Supposedly, her surname was Chiao, and she had some sort of relation to Tang Fan's mother. Since the two families was neighbors and diligently visited each other during his childhood, they had gone with the flow to pledge the two to each other before they were born, establishing a childhood betrothal. However, due to the fickle ways of the world, the Tang family had fallen, and Tang Fan had traveled far away in his youth, gradually cutting off contact. It wasn't until recently that correspondences had been re-established between them. His cousin's family had fallen, too, and now she was pitifully alone in the world, which was why she had come to seek shelter with her older cousin. Once he had finished the case, she was going back with him to the capital. All of that, Lu Lingzi had learned straight from Tang Fan's mouth. Today happened to be double seventh, and there were already more people walking around in the daytime than was usual. There was also a bustling temple festival at the temple of the city god, which was so crowded, water wouldn't be able to squeeze through it. At the same time, womenfolk were hurrying to the monastery for incense, their litters blocking up the road. The sea of people made a huge uproar. However, this was only the daytime scene. When night came, there would be the even more bustling lantern festival, whereupon young men and women would all pour out of the city to light up lanterns and make wishes. The lantern festival inside the city would also afford a spectacular sight. It was said that in years prior, there had been no lack of wealthy people uniting to buy fanciful lanterns and hang them up all over Jian City, making it a true display of trees of fire and flowers of silver, the lantern light resplendent. Tang Fan did not join in on the fun. Instead, he went out at daybreak for tea and a chat with Ji Min, and when he returned, he hired a cushioned sedan chair, then told Han Jin to lead it to Fourteenth to pick someone up. It was the closest into the city gates and many foreign traders chose to rest there after entering the city. I already made plans with her, he said to Han Jin. I told her to wait at the entrance of the inn after coming into the city, and I'm guessing she should be arriving right about now. Go over there a bit in advance, and wait if you get there earlier than her. Lu Lingzi, who was listening at the side, cut in. Brother Tang, do you want me to help, too? Miss Jiao should have brought just maidservants. A few frail women on the road alone would be terrified the whole journey. If they have a mishap, that would be terrible. No need. They also have a few from their hometown that came with them, else they wouldn't have made it here. Han Jin alone is enough. Lu Lingzi was forced to give up. At heart, he was really very curious about this never-before-seen Miss Jiao. Casting out those thoughts no one was to know about, he had always felt that for someone like Tang Fan, the talent of generation that was of good moral character, a woman worthy of him must be beautiful outside, intelligent inside, and of good heart. To be more specific, it was a thought much like, even though I might not have any hope myself, I hope that the one I like can have the best. It was precisely because of him concealing things like this that he typically displayed his familiarity by being clingy and childish. As Tang Fan was especially slow to grasp such emotions directed at him, he had no suspicion that Lu Lingzi's feelings towards him were extra special and came to treat him as a junior and younger brother that had not yet grown up. This could be said to be Lu Lingzi's massive mistake. When he later came to know that he had used the wrong method to begin with, who knew how he would feel? Anyways, Han Jin was ordered to pick the woman up at noon, and did not return until it was nearly nightfall. Alongside him was a small cyan sedan chair, with two people following it on either side. Judging by their dress, they should be Tang Fan's alleged cousin's maidservant and manservant. Hearing that his cousin was here, Tang Fan brought Lu Lingzi and the rest to personally welcome her. However, the second they stepped out of the post house, everyone, Tang Fan included, almost solidly jumped in fright. It was not about the cousin at this time but only about the two beside the sedan chair. The manservant was around 20 years old with a beard and stocky stature while his face was full of pock marks, his visage coarse. That was all, though. Servants naturally had to look like servants. If he looked like a jadeite tree facing the wind, would he be called a servant? Apparently, it was exactly due to the presence of this guy that Lady Jiao and her maid could safely arrive here from Zhejiang. He could be said to have made a great contribution. However, seeing the maid could make one much more speechless. The maidservant's upper body was covered with a round neck doujian, no sleeves to be seen, under which was an embellished, short coat of vivid color. On her lower half, she had a grass-colored horse-face skirt. Her hair was combed back into two topknots on either side of her head that were tied up with red silk ribbons, and a string of tassels hung from them, swaying with each of her footsteps, fine and lovely. And yet, her loveliness was only in her dress. Had this outfit shown up on a 14-year-old girl, it would have been pretty and adorable, but if it showed up on someone that was around the same height as the manservant next to her, could it still be called cute? It could practically be called a horror show. The least impressive thing was that the maid's face was filled with a thick layer of makeup, her lips were daubed with bright red rouge and her brows were made up slender and long. Her walking steps were very small, her feet hidden beneath the bottom of her skirt and refusing to show. Her bearing was graceful and delicate, but when paired up with that tall robust structure, it looked oddly ridiculous. The only thing desirable about her was that she had a pair of sharp eyes on her, full of life as they looked about, inlaid upon a face whose foundation powder was thicker than the paint brushed on walls, which was not jarring. Also, her features were somewhat defined, causing her to have something of an exotic grace. Lu Lingzi was caught off guard for a long while, uttering out, "Brother Tang, could your cousin's maid be a Simu?" Simu was a label from the former Yuan dynasty. Yuan had classified the common folk it governed as 4th class and Simu, 2nd class. After the establishment of Ming Dynasty, Han and Tang attire had been restored, and non-Han language and clothing forbidden. Even so, the Han regions had many Simu left behind from Yuan Dynasty. Seeing the maid's high nose bridge and deep eyes was what made Lu Lingzi ask. Truthfully, Tang Fan was no less shocked at heart than he. He had thought that Suizhou would dress up as his cousin, yet he had dressed up as a maid. If that's the case, who was the cousin in the sedan chair? Maybe, Tang Fan vaguely answered. His line of sight shifted away from the maid's thick white makeup and flowery clothes, unable to bear looking at them again. "Greetings, young master." The maid paid courtesy to him, her voice hushed, with a somewhat androgynous tinge. If he hadn't been looking at her face, Tang Fan would nearly be unable to hear the owner's voice. He coughed lightly. "What are your names?" "My name's Taizu." "Greetings, young master," the manservant said. That was clearly Peng Qi's voice. "Answering you, young master, this maid is called Xiaozhou." While she spoke, she looked up and quickly glanced at him, then bowed her head again, as if shy. It appeared incidental, which everyone caught sight of. "Lu Lingzi. Your miss must be in the sedan chair." "You can tell her to come out now," Tang Fan said. He felt like if he didn't go back inside soon, he likely wouldn't be able to keep a straight face. Hearing this, Xiaozhou leaned over, gathered up the curtain and said softly, "Miss, we're here. Please come down." A fair, slender hand reached out from the cabin, then settled on Xiaozhou's, after which someone walked out. Everyone's eyes shone at once. This woman had a heart-shaped face, willowy brows, eyes like autumnal waters and a cherry-lipped mouth, an objective beauty. Like Xiaozhou, she was also wearing a coat and skirt of eye-catching colors, but while Xiaozhou's adornment caused people pain, the beautiful Miss Jiao was complemented by the beautiful dress, the two going together well. In other words, from looks alone, a woman like this was a match set in heaven with Tang Fan. "Cousin." When Lady Jiao saw Tang Fan, her face broke out into a brilliant smile. "You must be him, right?" Despite this maiden giving him an overall sense of indescribable familiarity, Tang Fan went all in on the play, smiling and nodding. "Yes, I'm your cousin. We haven't met for many years. You've indeed become a grown woman, the spitting image of my aunt. You've been traveling for so long, that you must be tired. Let's go inside before we talk. You still remember what my mother looked like?" Lady Jiao bowed with her hands held in front, then immediately came forward to stand shoulder to shoulder with him, firmly crowding out Lu Lingzi to be behind like she had known him for a long time. Xiaozhou closely followed behind her miss, and by wielding her figure, she crowded Lu Lingzi back even further. Lu Lingzi was extremely depressed, but as he couldn't bicker with two women, he could only admit this defeat. Unexpectedly, yet another figure came in close. With a raise of his head, he saw Taizu smiling naively at him. "You're a manservant. Why are you following so closely?" Taizu smiled dumbly. "But I followed the whole way over like this. Miss said a lot of bad people are outside. She had me follow close so that I don't end up alone and get kidnapped." "Who would want to kidnap someone that looks like you?" Lu Lingzi's mouth twitched. "Your miss and brother Tang haven't seen each other in a long time and probably have a lot to discuss. Don't bother them by going in there." "But aren't you going in there, too?" "If you can go in, why can't I? I am not going in." Taizu hummed, rubbing his stomach. "Then I'm not going." "Hey, brother, can I dare to ask if there's anything to eat here? I only ate 10 buns today. I'm really hungry." Lu Lingzi had believed himself to have already met enough people and experienced plenty, but after he started following Tang Fan, he was having to write new pages in his memory over and over again. Seeing the other's cow eyes blinking as he watched him, he immediately lost his energy. "Yes. I'll bring you there," he said powerlessly. Tai Zhu turned excited, following after him as they headed for the kitchen, not neglecting to ramble on. "Thank you, brother. You're a real nice guy. In our hometown, everyone except the Miss and Xiaozhou look down on me. You don't, as well. You're worthy of being by the young master's side. Brother, what's your name?" "Brother." On the other end, Tang Fan led Lady Jiao into the hall. Shi Ming and Han Jin did not come in the room and was ordered to watch outside. "All right. What's going on here?" Tang Fan subconsciously avoided Xiaozhou's gaudy clothes, his expression a bit disconcerted from the horrible sight. Lady Jiao could be described as gorgeous, but that wasn't enough to shock Tang Fan to think her a heavenly being. All he needed to do was look at Xiaozhou, then at Lady Jiao, and the comparison between the two looks made the latter instantly more beautiful than an immortal. She sneered. "Master Tang, how could you forget me after such a short time apart?" Tang Fan was stunned for a good while, then said, "You're Xiao Wu." Xiao Wu threw him a coquettish look over her sleeves cover. Who else could it be? Upon a closer look, that silhouette really was mostly similar to Xiao Wu's, but back when they had parted ways in Suzhou, he had handed her over to Wang Ji for proper placement. Who could have thought that once he turned around, they would meet again here? Tang Fan couldn't help but look up at Suzhou. "You two have really thrown me for a loop." Xiao Wu smiled. "Allow me to give you an explanation." As it was, after the conclusion of the Suzhou case, Xiao Wu had felt that as a single woman with her looks, even if she sat on a pile of wealth, she might not be able to protect it. Once Tang Fan and Wang Ji left, she would likely get caught in similar circumstances like before, where someone would steal from her and take her as an exclusive property. For that reason, she needed to protect her capital. Furthermore, she had long been accustomed to an exciting life, and returning to the tranquil life of a proper woman was inevitably impossible for her. So, after pondering things, she had asked Wang Ji for help, hoping that he could grant her protection. In exchange, she would help him with things, becoming his spy and scout. Although she had no martial arts skill, she had stunning looks and was used to putting on acts. She didn't even need to invest with her body to make many men grovel at her pomegranate-colored skirts. She could really be an asset, but the Western Depot had collapsed, and Wang Ji's scope of influence had long transferred to the inner palace. There was no way he could get her into the palace by making her the emperor's concubine, right? Therefore, Wang Ji had contacted Suzhou. With the latter's consent, Xiao Wu was transferred into the Jinyue, becoming a spy under its banner, helping it act when needed and naturally having its protection. When necessary, the signboard it was could block any external harassment for her, allowing her to live the life she wanted. All kinds were under the Jinyue's banner. It wasn't like it had never had women in it before, but it had never had as dazzling of a female subordinate as her. The reason she had been willing to seek asylum in either the Jinyue or Wang Ji was that she knew that they had good relations with Tang Fan, and with his character, if his counterparts were not good people, he would never associate with them. At the end of it, her trust in him had caused her to come to a decision. After getting the whole story, Tang Fan learned that her first assignment after joining the Jinyue was to pretend to be his distant cousin, betrothed to him in childhood. A beauty dressing up ugly would have it easier than an ugly dressing up as a beauty. All that had been needed was a bit of a dexterous hand to change her pallor a little, modify her facial features slightly and change her voice somewhat to lower her timbre, her intonation going from alluring to relaxed. Even Lu Lingzi hadn't recognized that the charming lady before him was Xiao Wu from back in Suzhou, not thinking that Chen Luan's concubine could instantly turn into a Jinyue agent. If he couldn't recognize her, no one else could, naturally. Her disguise as Tang Fan's cousin was more convincing than Suizhou. As a maid of Simu descent, how tall he was didn't matter. Anyone seeing the master-servant pair would generally be paying attention to Xiao Wu, and not too much to her maid. How are you all going to track down and capture the White Lotus Society's remnants? Tang Fan asked. With Li Zilong's cunning, the most dangerous place is also the safest, Suizhou said. The probability that he had left the city isn't high. He might still be hiding somewhere in it, but in order to prevent the court from finding his nest, they're definitely going to move. Yanli and the rest have already gone out to Jian's outskirts to secretly probe around. It shouldn't be long until they find something. What's happening on your end? Tang Fan explained his plan to secretly dig up Lin Zhen's grave. Suizhou pondered for a moment. In that case, you can use the chance of going out of the city to look at lanterns with Xiao Wu to go. It wouldn't grab attention. Peng Qi and I can help, too. Tang Fan thought it over. Sounds good. Just as he said those two words, the loud voice of Tai Zhu came closer. Brother Lu, you're a real swindler. There were clearly no buns in the kitchen. You lied to me by saying there were. Lu Lingzi was gloomy. You ate an entire bowl of beef noodles. You're still complaining about there being no buns. I'll let you eat my whole portion. Hearing the two's ramblings, they stopped talking, watching them walk in one after the other. Lu Lingzi saw that Tang Fan was not seated at the head seat but down closer to Lady Jiao, with only one tea table separating them, and he couldn't help but get even more gloomy. He thought to himself, you only just met again. Why are you getting so familiar? Lady Jiao, too, really, even if you had a childhood betrothal, why are you going without a woman's reservedness? Unexpectedly, as if to confirm his silent criticisms, Lady Jiao truly didn't have a bit of reservedness. She was not even worried that Lu Lingzi was nearby, as she said coquettishly to Tang Fan, cousin, I heard that there's a lantern festival outside the city. Can you come see it with me? Now, Xiao Wu's acting brilliance could be seen. When Lu Lingzi met her back in Suzhou, Xiao Wu had been just like her name, both charming and gentle, fully able to automatically invoke pity, and totally different from the vivacious personality she was currently showing. It was little wonder as to why he didn't recognize her. Not just him, even Tang Fan, who had spent a few days around her, hadn't recognized her at the beginning. Nevertheless, Tang Fan showed her a warm and indulgent smile. Lots of people will be there. What if you aren't careful and get lost? I won't be afraid if you're with me. All right. But you're not allowed to run all around. All right. I'll listen to everything you say. Seeing this, Lu Lingzi had to remind him, Brother Tang, we're going to do work. It's probably not appropriate to take Miss Jiao, right? Lady Jiao unhappily pursed her lips, glaring at him. What does this have to do with you? Don't be impolite. Tang Fan gently scolded her, then smiled. I've been careless. You two haven't been formally introduced. This is Lu Lingzi, courtesy name Yuking. He's a young friend of mine. You can just call him Yuking. Yuking, my cousin is no outsider, there's no need to keep anything from her. Even though Tang Fan did not reveal any identities, Shi Ming and Han Jin, as onlookers, clearly got it, quickly hearing something off in his undertones. They couldn't help but stare a bit at Lady Jiao. Lu Lingzi, however, as someone involved, knew nothing. Seeing Tang Fan put so much trust into a fiancé he had just met made him rather downtrodden. Noticing that he seemed to not be reacting, Tang Fan added, if she comes with us at night, we can deceive others better. Reluctantly, Lu Lingzi accepted that reasoning, looking at Suizhou and the idiot Tai Zhu, who were standing close behind Lady Jiao. Then they don't need to go, right? Tai Zhu's voice was like a great bell, rattling Lu Lingzi's eardrums into buzzing as he stood beside him. Young master, you can't leave me here. I'm big and strong. I can do any work. The maid Xiao Zhou gripped the hem of her clothes, saying shyly, "Miss said that I will later be the young lord's bedmaid, so wherever the young master says I go, I will." Lu Lingzi. Tang Fan quickly bowed his head to drink his tea, which was actually to conceal that his mouth had started twitching again. Everyone ate and rested for a bit. After night descended, they left the post house in preparation to go out of the city. As expected, homes were emptied of people, a stretch of white light shining in the distant night sky. Evidently, people were setting off fireworks outside the city, loud noises faintly heard. All along the route, there were many passers-by like them, supporting their children and elders in heading out of the city. By contrast, Tang Fan's group was all young people, but they still blended completely into the crowd, not conspicuous at all. The only difference was that while everyone else was going to view lanterns, they were going grave digging. The Lin ancestral grave site was not far, the carriage driving out for under half a shishan before it got there. The surroundings were quiet all around. A small town was nearby, where the Lin family residence was, but most of its people had gone out to view the lantern festival today. Those remaining were the old, infirm, or wives and children. Even if they heard any commotion, they would not rush out to see. Shi Ming's group had long pinpointed Lin Zhen's burial plot, straight up walking to the grave, taking out the shovel and other tools from the carriage, and started to dig. Lady Qiao, seated in the carriage, poked her head out at this time, but there was no surprise or fear on her face, as if she saw everything they were doing as ordinary. Were Lu Lingzi stupid, he would still be able to tell that something was unusual about Tang Fan's cousin right now, and he wasn't stupid in the least. Tang Fan had dared to tell his suddenly appearing, previously undiscussed cousin that he had just met about something so important, then had brought her to a place like this, so the two must have long known each, their relationship not at all shallow. Thinking so, Lu Lingzi felt some mix of emotions inside. Still, as a subordinate, he didn't hold up his work. Everyone here except for Tang Fan and Lady Qiao, was of prominent martial skills, making excavation overkill for them. It didn't take long until the corner of a coffin was revealed. Everyone sped up their motions, one after the other. The full appearance of the coffin was soon exposed. They hefted up together, then used their tools to pry off the rivets on top of it, lifting away its lid. There was no need for Tang Fan to do an autopsy. Upon seeing the corpse beneath, everyone was greatly astounded. Lady Qiao, who had gotten off the carriage, couldn't help but softly gasped. End chapter. The 14th year of Chenghua. Chapter 130. Uncovering the truth. Had there been no one in the coffin, they all might not be this alarmed, but there really was someone lying there. To their surprise though, the corpse's face, neck, and even hands showing from beneath his robes all held marks of being burnt. The body was charred black, features a bit similar to Lin Fenjiayuan's could be vaguely recognized on it. Since Lin Zhen had hung himself, why would there now be burn marks on him? Xiao Wu knew little of this case's details, nor had she seen the corpses of the 5 evaluators. She had just exclaimed due to the state of the body being too terrifying to her, and because there was an unpleasant stink when she got near to it, she couldn't help but retreat several steps back, quickly shrinking into the carriage and peering at the rest of them. Lu Lingzi furrowed his brow. Strange. How come neither Lin Fengyuan or Shen Kengzia brought up the part about burning? Did Lin Zhen not commit suicide but get immolated? Were that the case, however, there would be even more issues. Shen Kengzia was under immense suspicion due to Lin Zhen's death. If Lin Zhen had burned to death, why hadn't he said a word to exonerate himself? Had the grudge between the Shen and the Lin families been bad enough for Shen Kengzia to kill Lin Zhen? Everyone observed the corpse, only thinking that there were many mysteries with no answers here. Despite the corpse not having been buried for long, due to the hot weather, it had already started to give off a faint rotting stench. Xiao Wu aside, the others also instinctively covered up their noses and took a few steps back, Only Tang Fan was standing there, wordlessly, staring at the body, as if a flower could bloom out of it. Not only did he stare at it, but he also went to examine it himself. They all watched his fair and slender hands feel all about the body, even probing into the deceased's mouth and nose. The corners of their mouths couldn't help but slightly twitch. They all felt nauseous by merely watching this, while Tang Fan was doing all of it without a change in expression. It was truly admirable. "He wasn't burned to death," he suddenly said not long after. Then, he stood, stuffed the jade cicada that had been in the corpse's mouth back into it, and carefully wiped off his hands with the wet rag Xiao Zhou handed him. Before anyone could ask, he took the initiative to explain. "There's a huge difference between getting burnt before death and after death. If a person is burned to death, they ought to breathe in soot, but I just checked his mouth and nose. They're clean, with no traces of soot at all. There's another important piece of information here. If one hangs themselves, because of the pressure on the throat causing the tongue to protrude outwards, it should be a little longer than usual, pressed against the upper teeth. However, the length of his tongue is the same as a typical person's, with no abnormality. That shows that he likely didn't hang himself." Wanting to learn more things, Lu Lingzi forced back his repulsion and imitated Tang Fan's posture of getting down low to the coffin. His upper body leaned over it as he pinched his nose and observed. "Brother Tang, his neck is all burnt black. There's no traces of strangulation. How can you determine his cause of death like this? Since he didn't hang himself and was only burned like this after death, it's very possible that after being murdered, someone faked evidence of suicide in order to deceive Shen Kungziu. Then, fearing that people like us would re-examine the body, they burned it beyond recognition to conceal the actual reason for Lin Zhen's death. If someone unrelated did this, they would have just burnt the body in full, instead of doing it like this, burning only half, dressing it in jades, and solemnly burying it, allowing us to find flaws from the body now. That could only be a relative of the deceased clearly knowing that they needed to destroy the corpse, yet unable to bear it, giving up halfway to make this. Therefore, the one that burned the body should doubtlessly be Lin Fenyuan." Lu Lingzi furrowed his brows. "If you say it's like that, then he must know that Lin Zhen didn't hang himself, yet he still helped the killer in burning the body to remove evidences from it. Is he the killer himself?" Tang Fan shook his head. "If he was, then since he had the heart to murder his own child, he would have been able to burn the corpse completely. Still, seeing the previous clues, he definitely knows who the killer is and is deliberately covered for them." Speaking up to this point, he paused, then exclaimed, "Damn." Everyone looked at him, confused. "Quick! Put the coffin back in, then let's hurry to the Lin residence." Hearing this, the others believed he wanted to go there to settle the score with Lin Fenyuan. Only the maid Xiao Zhou knew what he meant. "You think Lin Fenyuan is in danger, young master?" "Yes. I recall when we dropped by that day how he was acting odd. First, he had wasted away, as fearful as a bird frightened by a bow's twang. Then he had occasionally glanced at the painting on the wall. Presumably, because he had been threatened, he had to keep quiet but was trying to tell me something. There had to be a hidden component to the painting, something he wanted to tell me, yet couldn't state clearly. But if we've thought of that much, the killer can certainly think of it, too." His implication being that Lin Fenyuan would likely be targeted by the killer to silence him. As soon as everyone heard this, without another word, they picked up their pace in filling the hole up, then heading right for the Lin residence. The city gates were open all night and they had been at the Lin residence just a few days ago. Since they were already familiar with the way, they arrived quickly. The surroundings were quiet. It wasn't because everyone was resting but because they had all gone out of the city to view the Lantern Festival, likely not to be back within the Shishan. The Lin residence's front gate was shut tight. Ming stepped forth to bang on the door, the sound shaking the sky. Movements quickly came to be heard inside, the other party calling out who is it, as he hurried over. Because he didn't know the identities of those outside, the other was too afraid to open the door without permission. Ming then said, the Imperial ambassador who was investigating the case. We came just 2 days ago. Do you have proof of that? The one inside asked timidly, apparently not believing that. Ming disdained to talk more with him, merely looking back at Tang Fan. Seeing him nod, he went around to the wall nearby, leapt straight up to the top of it, then jumped into the courtyard. A cry of alarm quickly sounded. A short moment later, Ming opened the door from the inside. The Lin servant was beyond terrified, truly believing that he had encountered robbers that had come to loot. Before he could shout, Han Jin stepped up to cover his mouth. Don't shout, it's us. Don't you recognize the ambassador that came to your home a few days ago? Tang Fan said to him. The servant couldn't speak still, opening his eyes wide. After sizing him up in the dimly lit candlelight of the doorway, he nodded. Han Jin let him go. The servant gasped for air, his panic unending. Why are you here, sir? Where's your master? I need to see him for something urgent. He isn't here. Dare I ask what is it about? Forcing themselves inside a residence was weird, no matter how one looked at it. Tang Fan wasn't of the mind to clarify for him, his expression sinking. Where did he go? While he was talking, perhaps on account of hearing the commotion, a few servants hurried over. Thinking there were thieves, they all held clubs in their hands. He said he was going to see the lights. Lao Lin, what's happening? The steward swiftly walked out, measuring Tang Fan's group up in alarm. The servant informed him of their identity, after which the steward was relieved. He had seen Tang Fan during his previous visit. He cupped his hands to him. Answering you, sir, our master has indeed gone out to Lantern View, and is not yet back. How many people did he leave with? When did he left? I came by in the middle of the night not to intentionally cause problems for you but to save his life. If you don't speak and he has an accident, don't blame me for not warning you. Seeing that he was serious, the steward's expression changed slightly. After thinking for a bit, he clenched his jaw and said, to be honest, we also noticed that he was a bit weird tonight. The third young master was fussing about going out to Lantern View. Master had never prevented him before but he refused to let him go this time. When someone sent a letter in, he hurried out and he hasn't returned yet. About what time did he leave? Was he alone? Around the time of the dog, 7 to 9 p.m. He only brought Lai Wang, that's his attendant. Do you know where they went? Is the letter still here? He never told us where he was going and he burnt the letter after reading it. Moreover, when he left, he looked serious, appearing to not be too happy, so we didn't ask anything. What is the meaning of this, sir? That servant, then. Has Lai Wang always worked with the Lin family? No, he was personally brought in by master a few months ago. Said he was replacing the former attendant, Ji Xiang, who was sent to look after the study. He was sad about it for a while. He looked at Tang Fan, unsettled, not knowing what was going on. I'm afraid something's going on with your master, Tang Fan said. Send someone to find him, now and there to come back and report if they do. I will also inform Magistrate Fan to have authorities go searching. The steward went entirely pale. Sir, what's going on? If you delay any further, he might not be coming back, Tang Fan said coldly. The steward jumped in fright. Not daring to inquire further, he quickly sent most of the household out to search. Meanwhile, Tang Fan said to Lu Lingzi and Ming, one each of you go to the prefectural and county bureaus, have Magistrate Fan and Brother Ziming to send people respectively to search. If he's found, I'm to be told. I'll be waiting here, at the Lin residence. Also, Visit Consul Shen while you're at it. Whether he wants to come or not, be sure to get him over here. Shi Ming affirmed, while Lu Lingzi hesitated. Brother Tang, if we both leave at once. Miss Jiao no martial arts, so the only one at your side will be Han Jin, and that's not good. Before he finished, Tai Zhu smacked his own chest. Ain't I someone? Brother Lu, you can go in peace. Xiao Zhou and I are here. Nothing will happen. It's because you're here that I can't relax, Lu Lingzi thought. However, Tang Fan also said something. Hurry and go. Time is of the essence. Don't delay for a second. I'll be fine here. Everyday jokes were one thing, now that he was getting serious, Lu Lingzi dared not argue. Agreeing, he left quickly with Shi Ming to their respective tasks. Such a huge ruckus had also disturbed all of the Lin family members. The Lin matriarch sent a maid out to ask about the situation. After hearing of it, she disregarded the rule about it being inappropriate to meet with unfamiliar men, coming straight out to see Tang Fan, the panic on her face unconcealed. Sir, what you said about the master, is that true? Tang Fan didn't answer the question but instead said, husbands and wives are one unit. If Lin Fengyuan was acting odd recently, as his wife, it must have been easy for you to notice. Lady Chen creased her brow. Yes. Ever since Ah Zhen died, my husband's words and deeds seemed a bit off. I only thought that he was so out of it due to excessive grief, so I didn't ask further. The time before, I wanted Aju to come back but he refused, saying he should remain at the academy. Aju. The second young master, the steward helpfully added. Is he still in the academy now, then? Yes. When the eldest young master passed, the second young master was called back, but in not a few days' time, the master sent him back, saying that he shouldn't delay his schoolwork. Reasonably speaking, there would never be enough time for parents to be inconsolable after their eldest son's death. Why would he have made his second son hurry back to school? Moreover, judging by how Lin Zhen had been buried, it wasn't as if Lin Fengyuan didn't love his son. No matter what, that action was strange, even to those not of the Lin family. Tang Fan frowned and thought. Find a few servants to go to the academy and see if your second young master is still there. The steward and Lady Chen's eyes widened at the same time. Sir, you're saying? It's nothing, no need to panic. I just want to confirm his safety. Go, now. Even when he said that, anyone could hear his ominous implication. Quickly. Do as he ordered. Lady Chen said to the steward. The Lin family suddenly went into a flurry. Lady Chen, a woman of the inner household, had never come across this situation before and was unsure of what to do for a time, only able to stand there anxiously. As it was, Tang Fan had something for her to look for and asked, I remembered that when I paid a visit earlier, there was a painting that hung in your main hall. Magistrate Lin said he had made it himself. Is it still there? She thought for a short moment. You're speaking of the painting where a great river flows east? Yes. It seems to be. I saw it there this morning. Bring me to see it. This way, please. She led them to the main hall, but when she looked around, she gasped. I clearly saw it here this morning. Why has it been replaced? The location from Tang Fan's memory had since had a different painting hung on it. It was now of a bright mountain moon. The name on it was not Lin Fengyuan's. Not seeing anything amiss with it, Tang Fan lifted its scroll away. There was an ordinary wall beneath it, nothing weird to be seen. The maid Xiao Zhou also walked over, knocked on the wall and felt around for a spell. There's nothing, she said. There was no issue with the mall, so it had to be the painting itself. Tang Fan carefully thought back to it, not even noticing someone rush in from outside. Sir, Consul Shen, Magistrate Fan, and Magistrate Ji are here, Han Jing called out from nearby. Upon raising his head, Tang Fan rose to greet them. I didn't want to disturb you all. This Tang truly apologizes. Sir, this humble official has summoned help to find balancing Magistrate Lin. Has something happened? Magistrate Fan was a bit unhappy but dared not lash out. Today was double seventh. Ordinary common folk aside, even he had been leisurely lounging in his courtyard, eating snacks, chatting with his wife, and having a great time, only for Tang Fan to have sent someone to break that rare time of leisure. It was natural for him to be unhappy. Still, it was no good to say so to Tang Fan, though he had to think so at heart. Shen Kengxiu still had a darkened face, looking like someone owed him a lot of money and hadn't paid it back. Truthfully, when Shi Ming had come to his door, he didn't want come, yet Shi Ming had used force to invite him over. His complexion being anything pretty would be weird. Are you not speaking drivel, Censor Tang? Don't you need real evidence to start with? You said that something may have happened to Magistrate Lin and have made all of Jian Prefecture awfully busy. If he comes back safe and sound, how will you explain this? If something did happen to him, what does that have to do with this consul? Tang Fan waved his hand. Don't get irritated, Consul Shen. Please sit. Shen Kengxiu flung his hand out. No need. You have something to say, so please say it as soon as possible so that I can hurry back and lantern view. Tang Fan grinned. You're quite easygoing, Consul Shen. Your good son caused such a catastrophe yet you still have the free time to view lights. I heard that he was taught enough of a lesson to not rise from bed for a few days, he must not be able to view them with you, What does that matter to you? Shen Kengxiu raged. You try to control the heavens, you try to control the earth, you're being too controlling. Smile curbing, Tang Fan abruptly shouted, Shen Kengxiu, you've indulged your son in violent acts, what crime fits you? Taken aback for a moment, Shen Kengxiu then became furious. Tang Fan, don't dirty me with your slander. Fan Yuezhen fears you but I don't. Don't believe that just because you have Imperial order to investigate, you can invert black and white. What does Lin Zhen's death have to do with me? Tang Fan coldly smiled. When did I ever say you were related to Lin Zhen's death? I was talking about the deaths of those 5 evaluators and one's wife. 6 people in total. You dare say you didn't have an inkling of what happened there? In that split second, a hint of oddity swiftly flitted past Shen Kengxiu's face, eyes involuntarily wandering for a moment. When having guilty consciences, many would often have a reaction like this. Despite the extremely short duration, Tang Fan's eyes had been fixed on his counterpart the whole time. He would never miss the subtle changes in his expression. Neither Magistrate Fan nor Ji Min had expected that Tang Fan would choose to turn hostile with Shen Kengxiu at that moment. They exchanged looks and dared not console them, only sitting there awkwardly. Face flushing straight red, Shen Kengxiu pointed angrily at Tang Fan. Keep talking nonsense and believe me, I'll denounce you tomorrow. The second he got angry, Tang Fan contrarily smiled. Haven't you already denounced me a few times? Were it not for your memorials, why would the court send another Imperial ambassador? Shen Kengxiu, I ask you this, you were well aware that the 5 evaluators were related to the Imperial exam case, so why did you not wait for an Imperial ambassador to come and were in a rush to let them go? Shen Kengxiu didn't want to answer but had to, only sullenly saying, because, according to my investigation that day, they didn't participate in the cheating. You could only convince a 5-year-old with that. Before the institutional exams, a total of 16 exam takers paid 100 taels each for information at Qingfeng, which said that as long as the words great achievement were mixed in with their text, they were to pass with high marks. If that information was false, then it would have been impossible for all 16 of them to get on the roll. As the situation goes, when the exam rolls were released, all of their names had been on it. If there were no evaluators colluding with them, how could they have ranked based on those 2 words alone? Tang Fan paused. At that point of this case, you hadn't found out in time. At best, that would only be the crime of a failure to oversee. After that, you gathered up the exam takers suspected of cheating and had them retake the exam. That incident is also enough to prove that you were certainly aware without knowing the details. However, after I came here, you've been making things hard for me all over the place, not only refusing to cooperate but kept throwing obstructions on my way in all ways you can. You clearly knew that someone had to be accepting bribes amongst the evaluators, as well as that when I came, I was bound to investigate them, yet you still let them go, preferring to make yourself bear heavy suspicion. Even after those 6 died, you still refused to unveil a bit of the truth, only blindly denying it. That says only one thing: the one that sold the cheat to the exam takers must be closely related to you. You can abandon your own honors and career path as long as you can protect him, is that right? Shen Kengxiu sneered. That's a whole lot of nonsense. He got up and was about to walk away with the swing of his sleeve, but Han Jin and Shi Ming, having long came to guard the door, stood still ahead of him, staring coldly. Embarrassed into rage, Shen Kengxiu turned his head back. Tang Fan, what is the meaning of this? Are you trying to forcefully convict and confine a court official? Tang Fan ignored him, continuing to speak pleasantly. Previously, Magistrate Fan said that the headmaster of Beilas Ho Academy is getting ready to retire and the position will be vacant. Those who want to take that position are not few, yet those 5 evaluators had been the most qualified to contend for it. As they were academy headmasters within the Jian spheres, they were equal in qualifications. If they could receive a recommendation from Mr. Consul, they would have more certainty in being appointed. You are aloof by nature and proud of your clean name, so you must have disdained to hear them fawn on you. You might not even have accepted bribes. But just because you didn't doesn't mean someone else did. To be able to represent you and also get them all to listen to a plan and believe it to be true, apart from your son, who else could it be? Shen Kengxiu's face was ashen. He said nothing. He had never been that eloquent to begin with and couldn't think of how to argue with Tang Fan at that moment. The other didn't allow him to think deeply, quickly saying, I'm guessing that your son might have wanted to learn the exam question from you ahead of time, which would be easy for him to peddle, only for him to be scolded by one. That plan failed, but it birthed another. He simply used your name to contact those headmasters in private, promise them many benefits, then make an agreement with them ahead of time. As long as the words great achievement appeared on the papers, they were to pass. Pitifully, by the time you learned of it, it was too late, yet you couldn't just blankly watch on as something happened to your only son. For that reason, you deliberately made things difficult for me so that I couldn't investigate towards him, forcing my focus to be placed on you while I was at it. If the case ended here, you would at most have been expelled from your post due to poor handling of the case. Your son has no honors to lose. If it was known that he colluded with exam officials and peddled the exam questions, the death penalty wouldn't be out of the question and a lifelong penalty would be inescapable. For that reason, you did everything you could to cover for your son, not even sparing your own reputation, causing others to believe you to be a relentlessly stubborn idiot of an official. Hearing all of this, Magistrate Fan and Ji Min were dumbstruck. They had no idea how Tang Fan had inferred this, but the instant those well-structured words entered their ears, they automatically mostly believed them. The two looked at Shen Kengxiu at the same time, as if they wanted to glean the answer from his face. Shen Kengxiu's expression fluctuated, looking at Tang Fan with a complex gaze. While it could be described as hateful, it was actually mournful. Due to his character, it was inevitable that he would be holier than thou. He had literary fame, but his career path was not that great, and his popularity was only so-so. Becoming a province's consul of education was pretty much the end of it. If he wanted to go right up into the Ministry of Rights, it would be difficult. Compared to his literary fame, many behind his back said that he was difficult to get along with, yet he didn't care at all, ever doing his own thing, demanding rigor from himself. Bribes were normal in officialdom, but he never accepted a bit of them, taking pride in such. He had never expected that the clean reputation he had cherished all his life would be upended by his son. He had further never expected that the one that understood him most would be his foe. At this point, Tang Fan had already guessed Shen Xi's part in all of this. Even if Shen Kengxiu refused to admit it, it would be no use. As long as Tang Fan got a hold of Shen Xi and asked him, with how the other's personality was, he would confess to all of it in short order. In such a way, it was better for Shen Kengxiu himself to speak. He sighed. I didn't kill those 6. As for Lin Zhen's death, it's unrelated to either of us. Tang Fan raised a brow. But you should know who the murderer is. Shen Kengxiu was quiet. At that moment, someone hurried in from outside. It was a bailiff from the prefectural bureau. Sir. We found balancing magistrate Lin. Fan Yuezhen stood up with a bang. Where is he? Let him in. The bailiff hesitated. He's in the temple of the old city god. He's already dead. Then, a Lin servant came running in, panting, and said to the steward and Lady Chen, Madam, we went to Bailis Ho Academy but didn't see the second young master. His classmates said that after he went home for the funeral, he never came back. Once a crack was in the roof, it would rain that night. Everyone else was merely shocked. Lady Chen alone saw black before her eyes, then fainted. End chapter.